Well, hello, kitties. Are you looking for a frightfully spooky podcast? The crew from Hill City Paranormal has a treat for you then. Listen to calls from our haunted hotline, interviews, and behind-the-scenes commentary from our investigations, and even some fictional stories that are guaranteed to send chills up your spine. Subscribe to Hill City Paranormal wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you've been warned.
2 decades, 10,189 leads, and Virginia State Police say they are still looking for the man who tried to stop 20 or more women along the highway.
Disappearances in that region over the past 2 decades.
Reynolds was found murdered in rural Culpeper.
It's been over 20 years since St. Cloud native Julie Williams and Lolly Winans of Unity, Maine, were found murdered in the Virginia
It was a horrific crime, a particularly grisly crime.
They called the killer the Route 29 stalker.
I just stumbled on your podcast like 3 days ago, and I binged the whole thing. But no, I mean, I worked at Child Help and so I was there that day when all that happened. I got interviewed by the FBI. We had yeah, and yeah, 100%. Not just that too. I mean, I know a lot about this, and I live in Lignum. I live, probably 2 miles from there. We built our house here.
There have been many times during this podcast where I've wondered if I should just stop, give up. People stop talking. There are roadblocks, dead ends, and so many leads that I can absolutely see why a case can go cold. And with all that in mind, there's also life in general. As I stated in our first episode, I am not an investigator. I'm just a guy with some recording equipment that's trying to keep this case alive, and hopefully one day lead to justice for the families involved. And just when I wonder if I've hit a dead end and this podcast could be over, I get a call like this one.
Well, this is what I'll tell you.
Okay.
I will tell you what I 100% know for a fact. And then, and you can verify that because some of I made police reports. So. Sure. But let me tell you the fact. Okay, first of all, 96, I worked at Child Help, which was, I don't know how far you went down the road when you were here. If you actually, did you go grounds at all? Or did
no,
we
went to the pull-off right there.
Okay.
That's the only way I can describe it. It's right there on the left. It's like a little turn, a little pull-off.
Right. The pull-off was there. They made that when they clear cut. They made a little place for the trucks when they were taking the log off. That's what that, and because it had these giant rocks, but they put them there when they logged it the year before. But anyway, no, because Child Help was huge. It's a 300-acre facility, and I started working there in March of '95. I was there until 2003. But the year before that, when I first started working there, it was like a forest. It's now almost where you go down the road and it's just, you're in the woods, and all of a sudden you come in, there's a gate, and like, oh my gosh, you'd never know that place was back there. But when they clear cut it, when they found that year, they found her body, the place looked like the moon. I mean, there was no trees. They cut all the trees out. And I mean, that's one of the things that when I was listening to it, I heard the guy talk about hunting it, and you know, I was like, yeah, but it wasn't like that year. It was like the moon. There was no trees because they had logged it, you know. And the other thing, and I told the FBI when we were there, and they were talking about, did you see a, you know, vehicle or something like that? Well, because of the hunting club, there were always trucks pulled over. I mean, that wouldn't have raised anybody's attention. A truck pulled over on the side of that road, you know, because it happened all the time. Because, you know, the property's owned by that hunt club. So, I mean, I went back in there every day. And yeah, it wasn't nothing to see trucks pulled over on the side of the road. So when they said, well, wouldn't somebody have noticed? Yeah, they would have noticed. It wouldn't have aroused anybody's suspicion. You saw it all the time. But of how her body was found, I know that because I was there. I was there that day, and I know I'm not going to tell you his name because that's his business. But, and I'm not sure if it was the FedEx driver but because we had UPS coming back and forth to work. And if they saw something, they probably stopped at the office, because what happened was we leased fields because it would be a horse farm that they changed it to a school. And so we leased fields, and there was cows. And so when they saw the buzzards, they thought it was a cow is what it was. They thought that cows had got out and died. And so that's why they went to look. And that's when they found her body. And so they walked through the field, like straight up, like from the gate straight through the field, because there weren't any trees. It wasn't a forest. So he just saw it and just walked straight to it. So he didn't go up the road and then go off the road. And her body was found probably from the road. It might have been 50 yards, if that, off the road. Because when we came in, they had all the TV trucks, and they were kind of at where that big cell phone tower is now. All the TV trucks, satellite trucks were there, and then the police had, a roadblock up. We had, show our ID to come in and out because of the people that worked there. But you could see where they had like the, like funeral home tents, over the area where her body was found. And so, yeah, it was probably, it was no more than 50 yards off the road. But from what I figure, he probably buried her, and it had rained. It rained bad the week before, because I had to stop on the road and get a tree out of the road in a bad rainstorm, and I bet you it just like washed the dirt away or something like that. And that's what, once it cleared up and the buzzards came out.
So, tell me like what you were told and what you think happened, because from what you were saying, she probably had been buried, so that means that she was probably there for a while, and then it had rained. So all that is like new to me. So yeah, fill me in.
I came to work that day, and I was at work, and then they told everybody, because then the police showed up and then everything. So they kind of let it know, all the employees, that something was going on, and just, kind of let us know that a little bit of what was going on. And then the following day, because that was they started to stage it, I don't know, in the afternoon, I guess it was, but the following day, whatever day they said she was discovered, it was the next day. They were there all night with the lights and stuff. The next day they had that whole, everything was, roped off and roadblocked stuff. And they came down and interviewed everybody that was there, the FBI, police. And, basically we're just, what did you see anything, that kind of thing, and interviewed everybody that worked there. And it was not, gosh, it was probably 70, 80 employees. It wasn't a small place. There was a lot of people that worked there. So, they did all that. I did that with them. And then they asked anybody come back if you had any specific, things that you may have noticed. And I did, because it had only been probably a week when I had told him, I was like, I moved a tree out of the road, so if you see some footprints around, because it was right at the same spot, but like I just pulled the tree out of the road so I could go around it. But I was like, so if you see any, I don't know how this all works, but those, that happened. But and then it just from talking to the folks that were there, we knew what had happened. And one thing that you'll see in some of it, I don't know how much of the newspaper reports talk about it, but I know this for true because I told them. But they offered, the person that found him, he offered him the reward money, turned it down. And he, if you knowing him, that's something he would have done. He was super, super nice guy, but I talked to him probably 4 or 5 years ago. None of them work there anymore. But, it was that I know for a fact. But that day, so then we were told, hey, don't say anything, don't answer questions from the news, don't tell anything, don't say anything was what we were told from our, our boss and stuff. That, because we went out and there was like news trucks and people, and people as they would leave and ask questions. They told us basically just don't answer questions. And because we really didn't know anything about, we knew what had happened, but we didn't know, beyond that. And they really didn't want, because we had troubled kids, right? That's what we did. And so they really didn't want a whole lot of publicity brought to the school and the facility, and because of the nature of, we deal in sensitive cases anyway. And so most of the time you'll see these stories, they don't really mention Child Help by name, or at that time it only opened in 94, so even a lot of people around here didn't know that place was back there.
So the person that called in the buzzards, was that the same person that actually found the body, or? Yeah. Okay.
Now that I know found the body. I know who found the body, and then they called in. I don't know about the UPS or FedEx. I would guess that if that happened, that they stopped at the office and told the office, and then the office sent somebody to go check it out. I can, because it wasn't that far off the road, or if he saw it from, because they were kind of all around the grounds, and so either one of those things could have been. He was the one that personally found it and called in to the police.
Yes, because that would make sense, because when we went out there, it's out there, it's, yes. You would not know it was back there unless you knew it was back there, basically.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So the guy that actually found the bodies.
Well, yeah, I can tell you because I've talked to him about it.
Okay.
And what he said was that they told him that when and I don't remember about how he found out about the buzzards, whether he just saw. I always he saw them. That's from his. We're just talking to him. But if the UPS driver or whoever came back told it to the office, that would have made sense. But he basically, the whole point was that he thought one of the cows got out from the fields, and he was like, "Oh no, let me go." And that's why he walked up there, because he thought it was a calf or something that had gotten out from the fields. And then he walked up on it and said, "No, that's not a cow." He knew immediately that it was a body, and so that's when they called the police. And this probably, it would have been in that, it wasn't in the morning, because it would have probably been like in the afternoon, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock. And then, because I was already there, and so we'd had staff meeting that day, so I would have had to come in at noon. But that was, it would have sort of been after that he found it. But I'm sure that he thought it was a cow, and that's because one of the cows had gotten out.
One of the questions that we had was, I don't know how to ask it because I'm not a forensic guy. But had it obviously been out there for a while, or had
Yes. Yes.
so she had
Yeah,
been
it-
okay.
and probably, and from, just from everyone talking about it and from him talking about it, that it had probably been out there from maybe the day after, or maybe a couple of days after she was missing. And
Yeah. So since it was in March, she went missing, and then
Yep.
she was found in May. So that would be pretty true that it was fairly quickly she was put out there.
Yep. And just from the fact that I remember we had gotten so much rain that was what we assumed at the time, that it washed the dirt away or something like that. That's why. It'd been like a shallow grave or something.
Yeah.
And at the time, that's what, we all sort of understood that's probably what had happened.
Yeah. Now, so he finds the body, and it's obvious that she's been out there for a while. He calls the cops. He doesn't take the reward money, which is awesome to know. And
Right.
then they're out there the night before. That night, and then out there the next day.
Most next day, and then I came in night shift, and then I did, and so I was 8 to 11. So when I came in at 2:00, they were like wrapping stuff up the following day. So they had already, I guess, taken the remains to Richmond or wherever they were, and there were still the cops out there, and they still had a tent, over the spot. But it was pretty much done, but they had done all the interviews and stuff like that. But so that's that all of that I know. Those are facts I know.
Those are the facts.
That's definitely not where. No, you can use this part, and this is fact also. And so that day, okay, the next day, and this is definitely gonna. All right, hold your seat on this one. And I know this because it happened to me. So I was leaving. I worked until 11 that day. So they found her body. They were there for, most of the 24 hours and a little beyond that. They cleaned up, and then everybody was gone. Right? TV trucks are gone. All the stuff, roadblocks down. Right? There's nothing else there. Right? And so that night I worked until 11, and I'd stayed a little bit later. Okay, because that's a 24-hour facility. We had people there 24 hours a day, so there's cars coming in and out. And I was the night supervisor, which basically I just 2 nights a week I checked in with them, make sure they had everything they needed and stuff like that before I left. And so I had stayed late. I was leaving, and coming out of the gate, I'm coming down the road, and back then, it's hard to picture it now, but like I told you, it was like the moon, because they had clear cut that whole area. And so I'm leaving, going down the road, about that spot at the turnoff that you're talking about, and I could see a vehicle coming coming down the road toward me. And I noticed it because I'm thinking, I've supervised all the night people and everybody's here, like who's running late, I'm thinking. And so I keep going, and I'm waiting to pass the person to see who it is, because, I was the supervisor. And I never passed them. And I was like, that's weird. And then I got to where the road forks, where if you go left, there's nothing. If you go right, you come down the other. And right when I went on that curve and I touched my brakes, brake lights came up. I could see in the rearview mirror a little pickup truck pulled over on the side of the road. There's a curve. And I was like, oh, that's that dude. That's him, And so I went straight to the post office, because at the time, post office is new now, but then it was a trailer, but there was a payphone in front of there. And I went there, me and the sheriff's department. And I was like, that dude's here. They blew me off. And they said, well, we're not handling that case. It's a Virginia State Police case. And I was like, okay, give me the data number, you know. I was like, this dude, the guy, I was like, I'm just telling you, there's a guy in a black truck pulled over the side with his lights off right now with the body down. And they called the state police, and they sent somebody, and I sat there and waited. And I was like, I'm going to wait here, and I'm going to follow that son of a bitch feet, you know. And I sat and waited on the payphone, talking to the sheriff's department, talking to state police, trying to get somebody to come out, watching to see if this car pulls out of the road, which I couldn't really see because it's a little bit too far around the curve. And I waited, and it took about 20 minutes before they finally pulled up. I told him it was up, and asked, and the sheriff's deputy went down and searched, and wasn't anybody there because he'd gone or taken off. And that's true because I've called them, and that's got to be on somebody's record. But that 100% happened. That 100% happened.
Gosh, so all right, so you're saying the day, so after they've cleaned up, basically, right? The cops are gone.
Hours.
Hours after the cops have gone, you are leaving, and you see the black pickup, and he's down there scoping the area.
Well, this is what happened. Like, I mean, that's obviously making a bit of an assumption, but I don't know what else makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I know a vehicle was coming towards me on that dirt gravel road. Because now it's paved, then it was gravel. It's all gravel. And I'm paying attention because I'm thinking one of these people I supervised is late, right? And that's a big deal. But in my mind, I'm thinking, no, everybody's here. I know everybody's here. And so I'm waiting to see who it is. I'm paying attention. And I never met that car. I never met the vehicle. So when I come around the curve, I looked behind me. And that a little black pickup truck had basically gone a little down the loop before it stopped and turned our lights off. And the only reason I saw him was because my brake lights sort of illuminated and I could see it in the mirror when I went around the curve. And I went immediately, you know, because I just went to the end of the road, left right to the post office and got on the payphone, called the sheriff's department.
So you could,
and I told him,
yes,
so that guy, somebody is there right now.
And so you knew enough about, all right, so everybody knows about the case basically in the area that she went missing.
Oh, yeah.
So you knew the truck, you knew what truck had been broadcast all over the place. And then
it was on all the posters. Like every store had a picture of the poster. It had the composite drawing and the picture of the truck. It was like every little convenience store, every person where she went. Yeah, we all knew, you know, this little black pickup truck. And I saw that. I mean, it's like getting punched in the gut. I was like, holy shit, that's the freaking guy. That's all I could. And so I immediately called the police. But, you know.
So
25 minutes later.
And do that. Tell me again. So you ride down, you immediately call the sheriff, and then the sheriff says, we're not handling that. Call the state police.
No, that we're not handling that case. Virginia State Police is handling that. I was like, well, give me their number.
So, all right, so just so that I know. So you call the sheriff from the actual site where the body was found, seeing the truck there that everybody knows about. And does he call the state police or they tell you to call the state police?
No, they give me a number and I call the state police.
Unreal.
Yeah. And then they'll send somebody out there. That's what they say. And it's 20 minutes, 25 minutes later. And it was a sheriff's deputy who showed up.
I cannot.
And then I'll go down there, and I stood there and waited, and waited at the post office because that's where the payphone was. And so when you think about why this hasn't been solved, I think there's some who's the sheriff station, who's in charge of this and who's in charge of that, and probably some incompetence and some other things. But I know what happened. That part it was me that did it. And it pissed me off to no end. And because I was sitting there, I was like, that's him. And I waited, and he must have just taken a right instead of a left because nothing ever. No, I was going to follow him if he passed me.
Unreal. Like that.
Yeah.
I am so, because, well, the first couple episodes, like I try, and then half the stuff I couldn't even use, and like because
Right.
the share, like they shut me down, and like basically to the point of just being rude about it, and I mean like you've heard the episodes, that's all true. It was just me and my wife trying to help solve a case, and then like to hear you have the truck there, and I cannot. I'm like that that makes me. I can't believe it. I can't.
Well, and for me at the time, and I'm thinking, well, all right, I get it. I'm sure you're getting a crap ton of phone calls, because it's just been on the news, and all of that. But I was trying to make it known. I was like, dude, I am right here. I am right here. And this is happening right now. And look, I don't know if it's the guy, but I know it's kind of weird that a little black pickup truck pulls over on the side of the road, turns its lights off, right where this body is found. And I mean, and that road, I mean, obviously you've been there. Look, there ain't nobody going down that road except for the people that work. The people that live there, which then there were no houses, except the people who worked there, and that was it. Nobody else came down that road. Because why would you? It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it is so out there, and it's not even a connector. Like it's
right.
You literally are going out of the way to go down that road.
Yes.
Oh,
There's no reason to just act. And then, even if it's just some nosy Nelly that wanted to, you know what I mean? It's probably that. It was just some nosy Nelly wants to come down and see where all the craziness is going on. First of all, you're going to do that at midnight, and second of all, then why worry about pulling over and turn off the lights and so I feel I can say with all certainty that I know that was that guy, and I know he was coming back, to check it out or whatever. The day after it had,
I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you. While recording this voiceover, I tried to find the right words that would make an impact. Some clip that would leave everyone on a cliffhanger, and we wait for another break to come along. I still haven't found those words. To know that call he made to the sheriff's department went the way it did that night, not even 24 hours after finding Alicia's body. It's left me with a flood of emotions I cannot describe. My heart is broken again and again for her family. So I'm going to leave you with this. I truly believe this case will be solved one day from a tip from one of you, or even by someone in a Facebook group that leads to others talking about it more. Her family deserves justice, and I think they deserve so much more than what that department gave them that day.